All right, good evening, council, administration, and all guests tonight. Call the meeting to order for January 26th. It's a regular council meeting, and we start meetings with a moment of reflection, after which we'll get into the approval of the agendas. We'll start with a moment of reflection now. All right, thank you very much. Moving on to the approval of the agendas, of which we have two. First is a consent agenda. Anyone wishing to pull from the consent agenda? Otherwise, a motion to approve as presented. Yeah,
I have
couple
just a
comments.
couple questions, if I might.
Sure.
So the first one's on the minutes from January 12th. And not that this is a big deal, but it's in regards to bylaw 2012, the water bylaw.
Yeah.
And I'm reading the motions, and it just seems to me like they're out of order. 07 is second reading as amended, and then 08 is actually the two 08 and 09 are the amending motions, which seem to me should come before the second reading motion.
Yeah, technically the first one was tabled first and the amendment came after that. So,
If that's the case, I'm fine with that.
yeah.
I couldn't recall, they just seem to be out of order.
Yeah. No, I hear you because it's the original one was the main one and then we amended that one.
And who is Classic Displays?
Where are you seeing that?
Well,
Sorry.
it's in the APs, and it's like 22,000. I was just curious what that was for.
Yep.
I can comment on that. That's the last of the lights for Main Street, the Christmas, the winter holiday lights. We
Decorations?
purchased them. Yeah, we purchased them. You know what? Maybe it's not Chris. Maybe it's this microphone. But yeah, it's the Main Street lights.
And I think the last one on this is primary engineering and construction. Is that phase 2? So we dealt with different engineering firms, or was that just construction part?
Primary engineering is, their services are engineering and installing all of the shallow utilities. So we still deal primarily with MPE, and then primary engineering is just another contractor to deliver the shallow utilities.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. So, motion to approve the consent agenda. Councillor Orr makes that motion. Any other questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. A regular meeting agenda. I have not seen or heard of any modifications or extras, so a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor Fox makes a motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. For the good of council, does anyone wish to share comments for the good of council? It's exciting times in the town of Fort Macleod. There's going to be some comments. Councillor Poitras.
Yeah, I guess just a little announcement. This summer, we're planning a renovation of the hockey arena, the ice surface. And as such, it made it difficult for the Stars tournament to hold their annual tournament because they use that arena. They have over 60 teams that come out and play in that tournament. I heard this past week that the Stars tournament is going to happen this year. They're going to do it mostly in the schools. They've had to cut it back, so they're only inviting 36 teams, which is still a lot. And Mike was saying that when he sent out the emails for registration, and it filled up in less than 8 hours, I think. It was pretty fast. So it's exciting to hear that they're still going to hold the Stars tournament this year. That's always a great weekend for the town. It's a good time, a great cause, and so it's exciting.
Well, that's good news. Anyone else have comments for the good of council? What did we all do the last 2 weeks? Some snow, some wind. Yeah, I think there will be an announcement from the RCMP on quite a large drug bust in the community. That happened late last week, so that will be public knowledge that the charges did stick, and there was 2 convicted, and I think the amount that was captured was over 100 grand in trafficking. So that's I did convey some appreciation to the RCMP for the work they were doing, because it took a little bit of work to monitor and make sure that was getting done proper. So that will be coming out and made public knowledge. If it hasn't already, it should be very soon. Any other thoughts, comments? Yeah, CEO Burdette.
I guess in line with, I guess the RCMP in our community, we currently right now have a safety survey. We try to run an annual safety survey to kind of gauge people's perception of the community, and so that's available right now. It's been sent out in many different avenues. If you Google it, you can find it in town of Fort Macleod. But yeah, we'd invite everyone listening today to submit the safety survey, and we'd love to hear their opinions.
Okay. If that's all for comments for the good of council for now, then we will move on to delegations, of which we have one tonight, and we want to welcome the Empress Theatre to present to council. And yeah, the floor is yours. Take your time, and after you're done presenting, we'll invite council to ask any other questions for you. So thank you for coming.
Do I have to? It doesn't. Oh, there I am. Try that again. Thank you, everyone, for letting us and giving us this time to come and present to you all. I'll do some brief introductions, and then I'm going to turn it over to Hunter, and she'll go through a short slide presentation just to explain to you what our year is going to look like, and we have some exciting new things coming up. So my name is Jackie Nelson. I am the current Empress Theatre president. To my right is Hunter Gage. She is our new theatre director. And then we also have Denise Joel, who is our past president. So I'm going to turn it over to Hunter. Your turn, my friend.
Thank you. So, good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. The Empress has always been more than a theatre. It's a cultural touchstone, one of the most iconic spaces in Alberta, and a gathering space for audiences, families, and creators. Our success comes from serving both community needs and artistic expression and excellence. 2025 was a turning point. We reestablished core programs, expanded our audience, and successfully launched new initiatives, like the One Act Play Festival. Our concert series continues to attract high-quality performers, and our summer camps reached youth that had never before come to Fort Macleod or taken part in our programming. These wins give us a strong platform to grow. Center stage, standalone, summer camps, community events, film programming. These programs remain the backbone of our Empress. They're successful, they're sustainable, and they're deeply valued. So the new direction doesn't replace them, it strengthens them. As we look ahead, our goal is to evolve the Empress into even a more dynamic space and an asset to our town. This means increasing accessibility, growing arts education, and adding flexible cultural programming that benefit the entire community and the region. One of our most exciting initiatives in discussion to implementation is partnering with the Fort Museum. Together, we're highlighting the remarkable history of the Empress through artifacts, stories, and exhibits, creating a deeper heritage experience for residents and visitors. Fort Macleod deserves more than live theater. Expanding the One Act Play Festival and attracting touring artists allows us to bring new work to our local audience. And by producing and promoting more in-house shows, we create opportunities for local performers, crews, and volunteers. Technical theater, acting and directing, playwriting, arts administration, guest artists and instructors. These workshops support skill building across the community, from students dreaming of a career to professionals looking to refine their practice to adults trying something new. It is also this also positions the Empress as a regional hub for training. We aim to honor National Indigenous History Month with thoughtful, collaborative programming. This includes performances, film screenings, talks, and partnerships that build understanding and celebrate Indigenous voices this coming June. The Green Room is an underutilized asset. By opening it up to classes and meetings and small celebrations and community groups, we increase engagement and expand access. As we diversify our programming, we also create opportunities to increase revenue, rentals, reduce reliance on municipal funding, and bring new people into the theater for the first time. The Empress strengthens the local economy and enhances quality of life. More programming means more people visiting Main Street, eating at restaurants, shopping locally, and staying overnight. The arts are an economic engine, and the Empress is a key driver. To fully realize this vision, we look forward to ongoing partnership with the town, recognizing the Empress as a central cultural, educational, and economic asset. Thank you for your time and your leadership. We are proud that the Empress has been and even more excited about where it's going. We welcome your questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That presentation was very nicely done. Thank you. You had a lot of information and good presentation too. Council, do you have questions, comments, thoughts? Councilor Warren.
Again, thank you for taking the time to come tonight and to present. We're always interested to know what's going on at the Empress. I had a question about your program with respect to the fort and highlighting the historical nature of that. Could you just expand on that a little bit more?
We've asked that, there you go. We've asked them to reserve a room, and we're working with them to do that for the Empress artifacts that we have in the theater. One is the projector that we have down in the green room right now. We also have a 1935 popcorn machine up in our balcony that has all the complete pieces, and it actually is working. We tried it this summer, so it actually is functional. We also have connected with Dan Boyle's grandchildren, and they're going to bring the original cash register that he used and some of the ledgers that had shows shown in your town. And so all of those things are really big assets. And so the fort and us, we talked about maybe creating a space, a walkthrough in their space, because they will have a museum curator and they will be able to display these things and store them properly for long term.
Does the popcorn machine still have 1935 kernels in it?
I haven't checked, but I can.
So just to be clear, so these artifacts would be located somewhere in the fort facility?
We're not sure if it's going to be in the fort or it's going to be in a different location, but they're looking at creating a museum-style walkthrough, and so we want to just tack onto that project.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Councilor Patience?
Yeah, how was, last time I was in, the popcorn machine was down and had an extra one in there and it looked really crowded. Has that been rectified or are you still working on that? I got asked to volunteer and I looked in there and went, I don't know if I could even turn around in here, so.
We do have it. We are working on it. We had to take the bowl out and get it repaired, and now we're working on it. Mick has actually talked to them today about it. And so the plan is that we reinstate the larger popcorn machine and use the smaller popcorn machine that we had to get during parade weekend, because our other one died. We will have a backup. Normal theaters have a backup. We just didn't. Ours was 1935. So you're welcome.
Any other thoughts? Councillor Patient or Poitras, did you have some? No? I did. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, presentation was very well done, and the Empress Theater is, I think, on the up and up here. We've had lots of people come and join the society for our board, and so there's lots of excitement in town about where the Empress is going. So yeah, it's excellent.
Is Councillor Patient or Poitras, sorry, doing okay on your board? Yeah, good. Thanks. Just, I did have a question on dinner theater. Do you see that being something that would be somewhat of a package opportunity? You see that promoted lots in communities where it's shopping, dinner, theater, all in a kind of a package. I'm just wondering if that's something that's on the radar.
Yes, it actually is. We just started doing, working with the Legion, and they're redoing their kitchen at this point. And we have the grill across the street, and Blackwood. They've also started during McDade's. They opened their doors and had drinks before show.
Yeah.
So it's really partnering with with businesses around. The catering company in town, they are going to the bridal show in Lethbridge in February, and so we are creating a brochure to say that we're open for business and we would love to do that. And so the plan for 2026 into the fall of 2026, 27 is to create an arts catering brochure that we partner with people. We also, the green room has a capacity of about 40 people that we can put in there. It's tight. It would be tight, but that's okay. But a bride came in and looked at it for Halloween, and she has 26 people, and so she's going to have a small function down there. All of that is putting us into that kind of mindset. So if we look at kind of working those partnerships and networking those a little bit, massaging them a little bit, trying to figure out how do we get that dinner and show to work simultaneously. It's just, it takes us time. So I would, if I was going to push it, I would say probably 2027, you'll probably see some dinner theater partnerships happening.
Do you see a hotel in Fort Macleod also? I'm not saying we don't have hotels, but more of a name brand hotel, because the town's been working hard at trying to attract a hotel to town. Do you think that would be a benefit to the theater?
Absolutely.
Do you get that feedback?
I know I am new to your town
Okay,
too.
yeah.
So I think that you should, in my opinion, I'll
Yeah.
share. Yeah. In my opinion, I just think you should put some money into the motels that you have and get them really on board. And we have been working with sending people there when the weather's bad and things like that. And so we do have that in our artist stay in one of the motels. When the Queen is up and running and we can have partnerships with them, absolutely. If you bring another large scale hotel in, absolutely. Bringing artists in, from an international artists in to teach or to workshops or something, it would be great to have something that they don't have to go to Lethbridge or to do. To go, and when you're an artist, you're not going to spend a month and a half in a motel.
Right.
And
Yeah,
that's, a couple days is fine, but a month and a half, 2 months in a motel is a long time.
So at that point, they would be looking for like a short-term rental?
Either a short-term rental or that they go to Lethbridge and stay in something that's a little upper,
Okay.
that has more amenities, yeah.
Okay. The only other question I had is the MOU that the town has with the Empress, I'm assuming that's the partnership that you're talking about. Is there anything that you would like to see the town do more or less of? Any other asks or suggestions?
I can speak to this somewhat. We just met this last week, and we actually are going to extend, our current agreement expires at the end of January. So that's the agreement that includes what the town wants to see from the Empress and the Empress from the town, the funding, how it's all set up. So we are going to extend that for 6 months so we can actually work through some potentially bigger changes to the agreement, and we'll be keeping council abreast to what those changes look like. At this point, we just barely had our first meeting and said, hey, we need some time to figure this out. So we're just going to the drawing board and looking at that.
Yeah, and if we need more discussions, like obviously we want to see the theater grow and expand and do well in the community. So what does that look like to make sure we can do that well? I know you're, as Councillor Patience already said, tight for space. So I think we need some long-term conversations to see if there's any options for that. I don't know that there is, but you never know. I think we need. Okay.
There's probably, there's always lots of options is just money. What are we willing to spend, right? Like, I'm just speaking off the cuff, but our balcony can only handle 60 people. Like it physically can handle 100? Yes. But because of having one egress, there's only one exit. We can't put more than 60 people up there. But if you knocked out a wall and went to the welcome mat, right? Like all it would take is something really creative, right? And suddenly you have increased space and you have access to another space, potentially. Anyway, lots of things have been talked about like that.
Yeah, and I think those things we need to talk about because you don't want to kind of avoid them, and then all of a sudden hit a wall, right? So at least having a bit of an idea, and then no pun intended. It's tough to hold back. Okay. Any other thoughts? Councillor Orr, you have
I just wanted to, I was really impressed, and I really get feedback from lots in the community about the community productions. There was an uptick in that. Obviously, you have to have people that are willing to make that effort to put those on. But sold out houses every night. And so I appreciate you facilitating that opportunity, because to get our community members on the stage is huge. And everybody likes to watch a show that they know the people who are in it. So thank you for that.
Okay, very good. Unless there's last minute closing comments or anything else that wanted to be shared, then thank you from council for coming tonight, and we do wish you and your team the very best. Very good, thank you. All right, council, we are on to new business tonight, of which we have 4 items on our agenda. And we'll start with the first one being a policy review. And we'll pass this on to our Director of Community Services, Lisa Gillingham.
Thank you and good evening. We have recently started, I shouldn't say recently, but really focused on reviewing our policies. Over the last 6 months or so, there's been an increase of that. And some of those policies, as we were performing those reviews, were noted that we needed to do some updates. The HR 14, which is the Employee Group Benefit Plan, that is one that was brought to our attention last year during our pension audit that needed some updates in it, as it contradicted a little bit of the collective bargaining agreement, as well as our current policy that was referring to the group benefit plan was missing a few key items from the benefit administering those, both the pension and the actual healthcare benefit plan. So we can start with HR 14. That's the one that's had the most change to it. We've done some strike throughs to improve the definitions and the responsibilities that are there, and highlighted all of those in your packages for you. I won't necessarily go through every strike through and amendment unless there's a specific question. The biggest change and addition to the policy was on page 3, where it really outlines the pension program, and the requirements that are in here and that have been added to it are both satisfying the auditor requirements as well as the LAPP pension requirements and the collective bargaining agreement as well. One of the notable differences was the probationary period that was mentioned in the very first policy was 1 year, where we've been at a 6-month probationary period in the collective agreement and most employment agreements for as long as I've been with the town. So it was that 2012 policy was outdated for quite some time, and so this just helps us get back into compliance with all the agreements, the auditor requirements, and pension policy. So that's probably the biggest change to that portion of it, other than adding the pension information specifically. Do we want to go on to the next policy, or does anybody have any questions about that one, or questions at the end?
Yeah, I think go ahead. I think some of them are a little interconnected, so may as well go through all 3 first.
Sure, thanks. The second one that we're looking at is the creation of the HR 23, which is the travel expenses and limits policy. Any of our training, travel, any of those policies are all referenced in the amount of expenses and what those expenses look like, meals, mileage, that type of thing. And so when we were reviewing a couple of those policies at some of our supervisory meetings, it was noted that the meal allowances hadn't been increased for some time, and they were quite low. And so we had discussion at the supervisory meetings with them, and then at the end of the day, CAO Burdette settled on the updated per diem amounts. And so they haven't increased super significantly, but they are in relation to costs over the last couple of years and how we are seeing the increase in meals and what those costs are. So breakfast stayed the same at $16. Lunch was increased from $16 to $20, and then dinner up to $34. We feel that those are fair amounts to, when council as well as staff are outperforming the business of the town, that those are amounts that they could have a meal and not have to pay out of pocket for those. On that note, we'll run into Admin 01, which is the council remuneration policy. So those amounts are also the ones that are used in the council expense claim policy and how council gets reimbursed for expenses. So those changes have been made to that policy as well. A couple other notes just in the admin council remuneration on the Schedule A, there was the word annual added to annual expense payment, and then another annual allowance note in that very last paragraph on there, mostly just to make sure that it's clear that it's not a per term allotment, that it is an annual allotment that is paid. And then the dates, of course, will be changed to reflect those for the Schedule A, B, and C. And then the amounts were changed on Schedule C for the spreadsheet. So that's kind of where those ones are sitting, and I'm happy to take any additional questions.
All right, I'll perhaps entertain a motion to accept the policies as presented, and then we can have some debate.
Sorry, can we actually have an
discussion.
approval, please? Because there is
approval?
monetary,
Okay.
it needs to be an approval by council. Thank you.
You want to make that motion? Councillor Fox makes a motion. Any discussion, questions for administration? All 3, yeah.
Sorry, then I do have some questions.
Yeah,
if you
for sure.
might. Yeah. I'm looking at the council remuneration policy. I don't have a problem with the pension stuff. I was fine with that. So I got 3 questions actually. So, and those of you that caught the email late this afternoon, for attendance at seminars, training sessions, and conventions and summits which have been approved by council. One of the challenges, I just did a seminar with RPAP, for those that read my email, but I didn't register till after the last council meeting. So I don't have a council motion on it. So I know I've run into this in the past. Is there another way outside of a motion that we could get approval for councillors to attend those sorts of things that come up like that?
Do you want to comment on that?
I think some of these questions, so for today, the remuneration policy has to be at least reviewed once per term. If we want to set a time to review the whole policy and go through that, I think that might be wise. It has 24, we looked at it with the last council. And so every year when we review it, or every term when we review it, there are always those few questions and just the ability to manage some of it. So I think that's a fair point. If it has to be done by motion, then you're waiting until the next meeting. But if there's a time sensitive, then there should be a secondary option added to that, whether it's kind of a proxy email and then it gets motioned at the next council meeting on that, based on that email approval. Could absolutely be something that could be put into the policy.
Yeah, and some of it, I think, has to have a cost. Like if it's $100 meeting, I don't think we need a motion from council. That could be included in your education budget, which is there or something. But if it becomes an overnight with travel, with airfare, that obviously has to come to council. So I don't know.
You typically know that more than 2 weeks in advance than normal,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So I didn't know what the cost of the conferences that you're referring to.
No, this was just an online seminar put on
So
by
it was an
RPAP
hourly,
and
like-
RMA and AU Alberta Muni, so it was free.
And I think some of that should be up to the committee that reviews. If you submit your hours with the evidence that you're on there, I don't know that they wouldn't approve it.
I don't know.
Because it's an hourly rate that you're doing town business on, but if it needs to be addressed in a policy, obviously we can have that discussion.
I think it depends on the amount. I think you're right. If it's $100 because you took a 1 hour thing online, that's one thing. It's another if it's a 1 or 2, 3 day conference that involves a whole bunch of other. So, and there's also if you want to take a chance, there's retroactive approval, but I would think it depends on the amount.
Well, in this case, it wasn't of cost except my time, right? Okay, so you're suggesting we need to review the remuneration policy, which is fine. Then I have one more thing on the council compensation policy. And actually, Lisa, you brought this up during our orientation. And I thought that was odd then, and so I'm going to bring it up again. If a member of, so I'm thinking about a town and meetings or events here. If a member of council chooses to use their personal vehicle rather than a town vehicle, when one is available, mileage is paid out at half the rate. Well, don't take any offense to this. But I prefer to drive my own vehicle, especially in the winter. I know it. I've already been through 3 snowstorms in 3 out-of-town meetings this year. So I think that should be washed out. Like, I think if a councillor wants to take his own vehicle, I think that should be permissible. It's mostly off hours anyway. I could see this with staff. I understand that. But for me to come and try and hook up with a vehicle to go to a landfill meeting, for instance, just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, the history behind that one, I think, was, say, going to Alberta municipalities. We don't want 7 councillors all getting paid full mileage to go to the
I totally
conference. So
understand
I
that.
think that's what that was
Yeah.
referring to. I've never been personally challenged on using my personal vehicle to go to a meeting because I'm not thinking about coming to the town and getting the car and the keys, and it just doesn't make sense.
It
So-
doesn't to me, that's why I bring it up, but I understand the premise behind
Yeah.
it, but it's just kind of all encompassing and
Yeah.
the baby's going out with the bathwater
Yeah.
here, right? So,
And some of it, I think, has to be at the discretion of the review committee. But yeah, I think there needs to be some review. I've made some comments previous for myself in my role. Like, it doesn't identify some of the extra tasks of the mayor, what's included, what's not. So whether it's media, whether it's other special functions, like when is it? So those things I think need to be clarified in there at some point.
I can sympathize with that.
Yeah.
Even councillors run into those things from time to
Yeah.
time. You know, Councillor Orr and I just went through one with a resident that I was happy to do,
Yeah.
but I'm not saying that should be chargeable, but it's something that I think we need to cover off what is and what isn't
Yeah,
and be a
yeah.
little clearer.
Yeah.
That's all I had on all those. Sorry
Okay.
for the questions.
No, that's
but-
good. Any other comments, questions on the proposed policies? The motion's on the floor to approve the policies as presented, and you're good with the motion for all three? Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll call the motion to question. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. The wastewater treatment plant solar system, it is on our agenda, and our Director of Operations, Brendan Orr, is not here tonight. So at any point the council needs more information, we can defer to a future council meeting, but I thought since it's on the agenda, we may as well have a quick conversation. So perhaps we'll ask our CEO, Brett, to introduce.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, we had council and administration, we were keenly interested in understanding better the I guess, productivity of our solar system at our wastewater treatment plant. And so Brandon Orr, Director of Operations, worked with Goldbeck Solar to get a better understanding of what was being produced, how that was affecting our electricity usage at the plant, and kind of trying to identify where we were seeing the value for that investment that was made. So Miranda, if you want to bring that up, there's a few items. I won't speak to it quite as in depth as Brennan would. But overall, it was, I guess, positive in our understanding. What we've been able to learn from this situation has been good, because essentially the summary is we are producing electricity. The wastewater treatment plant produces or uses quite a bit of electricity, and there's a few graphs here that I'll draw your attention to that were my key takeaways. We're not quite seeing the financial credits that we were anticipating. When the system did come online, prices and timing, there was a bit better potential to see those credits. And then after the change in the past few years has reduced that amount. And for our wastewater treatment system, a lot of it has to do with the timing of when we're producing that electricity and when we need it, and what the price is at the time that we are producing more than we need. Brendan can definitely speak to that a little bit more. But it is positive, as you can see in his executive summary. The estimated cost savings of our reduction of electricity is estimated around $234,000, which is great. Like I said, that's not credits, but in reduction of electricity primarily. There are some, a few tens of thousands that come in through credits.
Is that per year?
No, that's total.
That's cumulative since the start, okay?
If you take a look at 2.1, the timeline, Brendan's kind of laid out, when we started, and a few of the changes, a few of the, a failed inverter, and you'll actually see that, I don't actually know if all of those graphs are in here, but in some of the graphs it shows when our system goes down and our production goes down, and so it is, quite important for us to make sure that our system's running properly, because as soon as we have a hiccup there, we're not making that return on our investment from the solar panels. I'm not going to speak much to the graphs that he has here, because I did not go into them in depth as much as Brennan did. I would like to skip to the graphs on the end. That one, yeah, the one you could see that was up. If you want to go to 4.2, Miranda, this is a nice little summary. So here, this is, kind of that big picture, take a step back. 2022 is the energy consumed by our wastewater treatment plant from the grid. And so as you see, 2023 and 2024, significant reductions in the amount of kilowatt hours used, and that's because of our solar plant. Brennan warned me, he said, that doesn't mean we all of a sudden have $40,000 extra. And that's a lot to do with the timing and the system, and we're still working on some of those things. But it does show that we, the reduction of electricity that we have to pull off of the grid to operate our wastewater treatment plant. And then some other key factors that I guess the variable in how much electricity we actually use in our wastewater treatment plant, given the seasons, given the processes and stuff. I mean, it's always running, but that's another factor he told me that we should be considering when we review this. But yeah, all in all, the solar system, our solar energy, our solar panels there, they are producing electricity, and it's showing a net benefit to the consumption of electricity that we're using. I personally would still love to see a little bit higher credits, and hopefully we can get to that point with the market. But there we go. If you have any questions, I will defer them to Brendan.
Councillor Patience.
Yeah, I actually, because I wasn't around when this was put together, like, what did we invest in this, and what was the expected, like, ROI? I'm just wondering, like, you know where I'm going here.
Yeah. So it was about 1.2 million, and we borrowed it from ourselves. So it was internally financed, and we're paying ourselves back to rebuild that internal financed amount. Now this happened before my time as well, but it was about a 10-year payback period is what was kind of anticipated. So that 1.2 essentially was supposed to recover the value of that in a 10-year period. I haven't redone those numbers, but we weren't quite looking like that we would get to a 10-year buyback period. But yeah, that kind of initiated looking into the system and the returns that we were getting.
So lifespan of solar panel, 20, 25 years?
Yeah, they usually say 25 to 30. That's kind of it.
So overall, like the earnings estimates, I think you were looking at around 100,000 a year, correct? In earnings, around some 3.4, I think. So it seems like a 10-year payback still makes sense. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more or less, right? Like as we, yeah, because I mean, if we're making, saving the 100,000 a year, yeah, 10-year period, we got our 1 million, right? And so I guess the credits, essentially the way it was explained to me when we got here, that the credits and the savings together were going to get us a little more substantial amounts, about in that, 160, 180 kind of range to get to that point, but we're not quite hitting that right now.
Yeah, I do think it would be good to dig up the original presentation that they made and almost compare it from what they predicted to what we're actually seeing. It'd be kind of interesting to see how that would look if we're on way off track or way on track or where we're at. Yeah, any other thoughts, questions, Councillor Monteith?
Yeah, it was, I'm encouraged to see that it's 110,000 a year saving, because that keeps it within the realm of what we looked at, even though the excess going into the system is nowhere near what they sort of promised us, but it's still a good deal, which is good, because it could have turned ugly if, the numbers were that much more. So I'm happy to see at least we're saving that, in 10, 12 years, it'll, in a sense, be paid for.
All right, so this was presented without Brendan Orr here. Do we have further information that we'd like to request, or does this satisfy the questions the council has? I think if administration has any other insights, we definitely would like to see it. And maybe I think during budget season, it almost would be nice to have that in our budget deliberations to some degree, just to see what it's doing. You never know if we want to do more or maybe do less.
Yeah, one of the things we have been, we haven't explored it very seriously yet, is just trying to find opportunities to improve our ability to, recover more on the extra credits. One thing that the town of Raymond did, they had a big system like ours, but it was too big, right? There's certain programs that if you're just this size, you get actually better rates, part of the solar club. And so the town of Raymond took one of their big solar fields, chopped it in half, sent one to this building and one to another building that was close by, and then they were able to get better rates. And so we some of those ideas we're mulling through, seeing if we're, if there's any possibility with our size, and we've just kind of scratched the surface on that. We wanted to do a full kind of in-depth review on how we are performing right now to see if it makes sense, because that's obviously a cost. And so there are things that we're still exploring to try to maximize the efficiency and benefit of the solar at the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, well, if council has no further questions, then I think a motion to accept as information would be good, and then we could always check in if we have any other questions. Anyone prepared to make that motion? Councilor Patel makes the motion to accept this information. Call to question, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Memberships 2026, and Anthony, are you speaking to this? You Brett?
Yes, I will speak to
Yeah,
this.
for sure.
So each year, rather than bringing each one of these memberships to council individually, as they are have become quite standard in our operations, we bring our list of memberships to council to approve collectively. So those memberships include the Fort Macleod Chamber of Commerce, Old Man Watershed Council, Association of Alberta Municipalities, Highway 3 Twinning Development Association, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and Alberta Southwest Regional Alliance. So if council has any questions or comments on this, I will gladly take them.
Does council have any questions on any of the memberships that have been paid? I know some of them have numbers that are to be determined. Do we expect those to kind of stay consistent?
Yeah, we have no reason to believe they would increase at any other than just, an annual small percentage.
Yeah, I think Alberta Southwest is one that may see an increase next invoice. I don't know if they've announced that or sent an email on that already, but
Yes,
it
Alberta
wasn't
South.
huge, but it was.
Yeah, they were hoping to kind of make the most of some provincial funding, and so they were they had a special name for the fee, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I think that one is, yeah, it was voted on, but the invoice doesn't come to the end of this year, I think,
Okay.
right? So I'm not sure 100% on the timing. So that one, we'll see a little bit of an increase too, but I don't think they've had an increase for, I don't know how long it's been. It's been a long time. I think it's probably been at $1 per resident for 10 or more years. Okay, any questions on this or a motion to approve the list as presented? Councillor Patience makes a motion to approve the list as presented. Any other questions, comments, debate? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And the last item is Alberta Care Spring Seminar. And I believe Councillor Patience has some interest in attending this seminar in Brooks. Is that correct?
It came across my email because I'm the McLeod or town rep on the landfill commission. It has some interesting facets. I don't know if we've ever done this before. I haven't spoken to my landfill counterparts either in terms of whether they're interested in going. I mean, at a point where we're looking at options for waste energy, I thought there might be some value in it, but I certainly am also conscious of the public purse as well. So I threw it out to council to say, is this something you think would be of value? Yeah. So I really, you know what I know. You have all the same information I have. This is in Brooks in March, I believe, if I remember right, in March 18th to the 20th. So it's a 3-day. It's equivalent to a Alberta Munis convention, basically, in terms of time and distance. So.
And the Waste Management Commission, you don't know if anyone's going?
I don't. We actually meet again on the 4th or 6th of February. But I could reach out to them. Yeah.
Yeah, to some degree, I think you're going to be bringing this back information for all of the communities too, right? So in some ways, the Waste Commission, you think would fund some of the trip as well.
And they might be able to as well. I
Yeah.
haven't gone to that approach yet.
Yeah,
I certainly think they should have somebody there.
I think so. So council, any other feedback?
I would just second the idea that, I don't know that we need to have a number of people from the commission to attend. I think that if, it would make sense to me that someone other than a councillor would go, unless there's some urgency and we're looking at, we've got to make changes right away and we're looking for options right now. So I would endorse the idea of seeing whether or not someone else is attending from the commission so they can get that information firsthand and bring it back before we would make a motion to send a willing counselor. Thanks for bringing it forward, for your patience.
Councillor Monteith?
Are we a member of this Alberta CARE? Is the landfill commission?
I'm not sure. I have seen it in our information at the landfill, but I couldn't answer whether we're actually a member of this or not. And I thought maybe someone else from the council had seen this previously, so they call it their spring seminar, which tells me that it's annual or twice annually. I'm not even sure, to be honest with you, but before I got too carried away, I thought I'd see if there was any appetite, and if so, I could dig into it deeper. If not, well, that's fine too.
I think there's appetite, councillor Patience. I'm just wondering if we can delay the approval until after you've had some more discussions with them, and then we can cover off.
I can certainly do that.
Yeah, does that
Like I
make
say,
sense?
I have a meeting in 10 days with them.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
Sure.
And there's still time, I think, right?
So I'll just ask Miranda to maybe throw it back on our next agenda. And
Sure.
thank you.
Okay, so perhaps a motion to defer to if next council meeting, councillor Monteith.
Something to do with waste. How much information are we going to get on his request to join that committee that's looking into the waste disposal plant?
Which one?
There's more than one?
There is.
Oh, my goodness. It just seems that there's not a lot of information coming. And I don't know how much they have, but I went to that presentation and it worried me that they'd already come up with a company that would do it. And now they want to get into deeper numbers, but I have no idea how much work they did in looking at all the alternatives to see what was the best. And I don't know if you have any more since then.
Thanks, Jim. It's actually a good question, and I know Councillor Monteith, CEO Burdette also attended, along with myself and the commission members and members from, not even sure, I think 10 or 11 other municipalities. So that presentation was put on by Varme, who is a worldwide company in waste energy. There had been discussions previously with another or other companies. So at that particular meeting, and when the commission met after that presentation, it was determined that we would send a letter out to those participating municipalities and those which touched the MD of Willow Creek, basically, both rural and urban municipalities, to gauge interest and to determine if there was enough interest to seek a grant for a feasibility study, basically. And we have a lot of information already. There's already been waste audits done by a number of municipalities. I think we're one of them, actually. So a lot of that information is already available. So I can't tell you what that's going to cost until we know how many are interested. And, however, at our last meeting, Waste Gurus, which is a branch of Varme, brought forward the letter we'd asked them to write that we could send around to municipalities, which we approved at our last meeting. So that'll be going out. In the meantime, Alberta Southwest has sent a letter to the commission with a different waste to energy proposal, which is now obviously going to confuse the issue greatly. And there may be some think it's one and the same, but it's not. So this is all coming very quickly, right? This is the last 2 weeks. So I was unaware of Alberta Southwest's, and I think they're just facilitating. I don't think it's got anything to do with them organizing it.
I think they're representing a wider group of participating municipalities, right?
So it's a bit of a chicken and egg at this point. I think it's the best answer I can give you. I know this has been on the table a very long time. It's been tried several times unsuccessfully, and the group's hoping that we get a different outcome this time around. And there are numerous companies out there, and I know we're getting calls from other ones now that there is not, unfortunately, in Canada, a whole lot of projects that are currently in operation. So I guess at this point we're still doing investigation. We're still in the investigating stage to gauge interest. I actually think everybody's interested in it. But will it work? Will it be financially viable? How will it operate? Where will it operate? How will we deal with transportation? All these things, right, still need to be answered. So at this point, yeah, I've been at 3 commission meetings. I can't believe I don't have this all down pat already, but, you know, I'm kind of, yeah. However, I do feel a little deja vu because we were members of SAWA for years and years and years, which started small and then just kind of blew and grew, and then now all of a sudden I understand it's still an entity, but it never really got anywhere physical. So I think it's just going to take some leadership to get it to a point where we can determine whether there's enough viability, and enough interest to make something like that go on what scale are we talking about, right?
It's my understanding that the commission engaged, might have been U of L or something, to do a study, and that's what I thought they were doing. So I'm wondering what they did do, because now we're doing a study to determine things, so I was a little confused.
And now that's 2 of us.
Was that Manitoba? It was Manitoba University, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. Yeah, it could have been, but the commission did commission a study, so I'm wondering what that study did, because it doesn't sound like I got very far.
Councillor Monteith, you probably know more about that than I, so I haven't even heard that brought up at this point. I just know that we have a lot of our information already. It's those exterior municipalities that we don't have information on. So something I could certainly ask at our next meeting.
Do we have a copy of that report? Do you know? Have you seen anything on it?
The original waste study that was done by the university, I have not seen it, no.
So some looking into for sure. So a motion to defer this agenda to the next future council meeting. Is someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Peters, this is on the CARES. Councillor Patience will get back to us after he's talked to the Waste Commission. Call to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. That ends the public portion of our meeting tonight. I'll request a motion to go in camera for one land item. Councillor Fox makes that motion. Call to question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. We are now in camera.